Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the One Nation of Gamers 2016 Hearthstone Circuit. This is day two of feature tournament number one. We are one match into Group B. I'm TJ. Joining me once again is Kriparian.
Oh,
Grip,
damn.
what'd you think of that first match? I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like some pretty standard Hearthstone up until that last game with the anything can happen. You had some feedback from Chalky. I heard
Yeah,
some thoughts,
he
post-match thoughts.
yeah he said he put the Emperor in for that exact scenario. So pretty cool to see. Also, he said it lets you fit in some. Emperor's just a good card when you have a big hand. It lets
Hmm.
you fit in lay on hands plus equality combo. So you
Okay.
can lay on hands and equality pyro as long as two of those cards have been reduced.
Yep.
So that's actually a pretty big deal because it lets you board clear and heal.
Yeah,
Uh,
usually when you play lay on hands, you just often get crushed the turn after.
yeah, so that's pretty good reasoning, and I really like the inclusion. I think it increases the win rate at least against control decks by so much because it allows you to fit in a lot. So, and the owl plus the anything
Hmm.
was MVP. But looking at the next matchup, Nostam versus Eversiction, two players that might be unknown, but are definitely players that play in a lot of open tournaments. They are open tournament heroes, so to speak. So
And
they both,
one of them knocked you out, didn't they?
yes, I played in ONOG Open number two, and I made to the round of eight. So one round away from the broadcast,
Hmm.
um, and Eversiction beat me. So um, I was a little bit disappointed, but at least I got to cast still, which is always the funny thing. Chalky actually also made to the round of eight in that exact same tournament, and also lost in the round of eight, and then he casted with me. So we both casted the open after losing in the round of eight
Okay.
and being super salty. It was pretty funny. Chalky qualified, of course, because of his second place finish in the one that
Hmm.
you casted against Shoop. So
Yep.
lots of Geico points going around. But both these players banned Druid. I
So
think that's going to be a pretty popular
every Druid
choice.
deck has been banned so far.
Yeah.
No Druid play today. I'm okay with this. I mean, I feel like Druid is one of those decks that um, you just know what's going to happen. You know, they're
Yeah.
doing one thing and then they do that, and then it either happens or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it sounds simplistic, but often it is that simplistic.
Yeah. And, Druid, there's a reason why people ban it. It had the highest win rate in both the North America, or sorry, the Americas and the European winter preliminaries. Highest win rate. And in NA, it was by far. It had a 67% win rate in the North American Winter Preliminary across over 200 games played with it, which is absurd for a deck being played at the highest level. So,
Yeah.
not surprised people are banning it. Not surprised.
All right. Well, here we are. It is going to be Twilight Drake and Leroy in the same deck. How about that?
How about that?
I don't
Um,
think I've seen that before.
yeah. So Nasum is he's on a team called Grand National Champions. Which I am unofficially a part of because my stream is underneath their stream banner. But he streams sometimes, and he plays really wacky decks.
Hmm.
He's sort of a wacky warrior of sorts, and so I was hoping that during this tournament he was going to bring some crazy stuff because for preliminary he tryharded. So this is pretty much going to. It looks like Reno Lock, but it
Looks
looks
like
like a
Reno
Reno
Lock,
Lock.
but how does Leroy fit into Reno Lock?
I don't know. He also has it is a combo. You can run usually you run one or the other. You either run the Fugan and Stalag combo,
Hmm.
or you run some type of combo with Arcane Golem or Leroy plus Faces Manipulator. Um, but it looks like Nasum's running both, which seems like he cuts some pretty important tech cards in order to do so. We'll definitely have to see as this match goes on.
Now here you have the choice to just tap and leave a Fiery War Axe. It's unlikely like Fiery War Axe is not going to attack face here, and it's not going to challenge your Twilight Drake next turn anyway. That certainly might, however.
Yeah. All right. So one thing I want to point out is Eversiction and almost every single open that I've seen him play in the past couple weeks, He's been playing Control Warrior, and he made a version of Control Warrior really popular, which is basically it's a Elite Control Warrior, and it tops out, meaning the highest value or the highest cost card that it runs is just a card Heart.
Hmm.
No Grom, no Alex Straza, no Doctor Boone. It's basically win condition is just to fatigue you out and to use removal to make you run out of resources.
Hmm.
And I think everybody expected him to run that because people that play in opens know that that's what he does. And he switches it up for this one and he runs Patron Warrior. So I doubt people in this group were expecting Eversiction to bring Patron. So it's a really cool idea from him.
All right. Well, that was also a very interesting play. That was kind of like the compromise play that Eversiction made with play the taunt, don't overcommit on the board, and just do a little bit of damage, make it so the frothing isn't a huge threat yet.
Mm-hmm.
And now it can be a really, really huge threat, if I'm not mistaken here. I
Are we?
think you can do like 16 damage this turn. I think that's the amount of damage here. You
Yeah,
can
I
almost
think you're
kill the
right.
warlock.
Yeah, but almost killing a warlock is sometimes worse than
Yep.
not doing damage to the warlock. So
Yep.
uh, he at least seeing the uh, Fugan, I think that one is the 4/7's Fugan.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what kind of warlock deck that this is, and Nostam has an ooze. He's got Healbot. He's got Belcher, Shadowflame. He's got so many tools to make this matchup really tough for Eversiction.
All right. Goes for the coin battle rage. Loath about another whirlwind.
And he gets in for 10. Holy moly.
Yeah, that's not bad. Nostam can't really take advantage of this. He doesn't have any Molten Giants. He just has more ways to prevent damage, but that's not always that great. In this case, he doesn't even have removal for the frothing. He has to use up his 4/6, which feels really bad.
Hmm. Yeah, it feels bad, but you have Shadowflame, and he's got a way to use the Shadowflame with Ooze, Abuse, Sergeant, Shadowflame if Eversiction were to make a big board of patrons this turn.
Hmm.
So you just need to make sure in this matchup that you always have a way to deal with a board of patrons. So because that's the pretty much the only way you lose is either by
Hmm.
getting grommed or by letting your opponent have a board full of patrons that you don't have an answer to. So
Well, here comes the frothing. That's a pretty weak attack, but
yeah,
didn't seem like there was much to play that turn.
yeah. Which Frothy by itself is just super weak. I mean, he can just kill it with the Stalag here and develop a reasonably sized threat. And also, I'm trying to think if he doesn't develop a taunt or a heal here, if there's any way for him to just die. But um, aside from some pretty crazy combinations like Corcoran, no, I don't think there's even a way. I was saying Corcoran Elite double Inner Rage.
I
Well,
think I
Corcoran
like
Elite double
the.
Inner Rage, cool Taskmaster, he would die.
Whoa, he's gonna go for Emperor.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be another time when he'll be able to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a super high value turn because he's reducing a taunt and a heal and an AoE. So, uh,
1 second.
so there's I don't think there was a very small chance of him losing that turn. He had to have a very specific set of cards. So, um, yeah, it's
Yeah,
going to be really.
without any kind of crazy charge action, looks like he can't really do too much here.
He can look at this. He can play so much stuff here. There is no execute at the moment for this Thaddeus. Oh,
Well, he's
there's
gonna
one.
draw a lot of cards here.
Yeah.
He's gonna keep drawing cards actually.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, how do you do 10 burst? It has to be Grom,
Yeah.
and the heal just puts you out of range completely.
Yeah, I just don't see Nostam ever getting into a situation where he's going to be in Grom range. He's got ways to clear the board and keep it empty. He's got Jiraxis. He is running out of cards, so Eversiction can play the long game, and he does have a way to. Well, he's out of whirlwind effects aside from a second death bite.
Hmm.
It's just such a tough matchup because it feels like you can like never play patrons because you spend a whole turn and so many resources building patrons and they get rid of it
Yeah.
all with one card.
And I mean, what can you even draw? Like this deck is mostly meant to deal with aggro decks or get a little bit out of control in the early game. Like he almost got out of control in the early game, but
Mhm.
he couldn't really take advantage of it.
Yeah, poor Thaddeus. That's rough.
Audius never makes it.
Yeah, you can never get in for that 11 damage. It just doesn't happen. There's always a BGH or an execute.
Yeah.
Oh well, there's the Leroy, but it doesn't seem like it might be relevant this game. He's going to be able to clear off this Belcher and develop more threats. And it's start well, it's been looking bad for Eversiction, but it's starting to look like this game's going to come to an end relatively soon.
Well, there's Grom, but I don't know how you can possibly clear here. You can
Yeah,
try to threaten the 12 and hope the opponent slips up. That's probably your main way to win the game.
yeah. It looks like he's just going to try and cycle through the last bit of cards in his deck with this Battle Rage. But there's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plus 6, 18. 18 damage, so Faceless Manipulator. I don't think there's anything else that he can tap into that would give him lethal. Nope, I was wrong. Power Overwhelming. All right. Forgot about that card. But yeah, that's going to do it. He's got plenty of
Yeah, that's
damage.
exact. No, that's exactly lethal.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got just enough damage.
Okay, just enough damage, yeah. I was factoring in things that I was like, oh, Leroy and Faceless and Power Overwhelming. But yeah, a really interesting Reno deck variation from Nostam, sort of double dipping into both the different styles. Fugan Stalag plus the Leroy Powerwhelming and probably faces combination and finds a win against, I mean, what we can say is a pretty favorable matchup, I'd say.
Now, the interesting thing about the Warlock deck there that I kind of forgot to touch upon is we see that Nostam brought Hunter, which is generally brought as an aggressive mid-range style. Then we have Paladin, which is generally the same thing. And then Druid is basically played one way. So I thought that he's basically playing the aggressive style decks, but we actually saw like a weird Reno lock. And now we see anything can happen
Wow.
Paladin again.
Wow. So this is crazy, man. We were looking at the deck list before the broadcast and Crip and I were both saying, there's three Secret Paladins. As soon as we saw Paladin, we're like, oh, three Secret Paladins. But now we see that it's at least two Anyfin Paladins.
Hmm.
So
What do you think about humility? I think humility is kind of it's a pretty good card, but it's mostly good against the hyper aggressive decks.
yeah, that's true. Well, it's good against like Druid also, just
Hmm.
because a lot of times you can't afford to use an equality yet
Hmm.
on like one creature. So say your opponent plays like a Druid of the Claw or an Ancient of Lore, until they extend more on the board, you just humility it to deal with it for now. But I mean, in a deck where it has one clear win condition, and its only goal is to survive in order to get to that win condition. I like it, but only in that scenario. So it's a very uh, it's a card that's meant for a very specific type of deck, and this deck does fit its needs. But it is a weird card.
Whoa, is he gonna execute the Acolyte just to stop the draw? Draws like all the decks that run a lot of draw have the issue of if you deny all the draw at the start, they might just not like get going with the draw engine. So there's
Yep.
actually some reasonable merit to doing that.
Yeah, fair point. Also, he knows there are wild pyromancers in every version of Murloc Paladin because you run them for the equality combination,
Hmm.
quality activator. So he might have been scared that okay, wild pyromancer plus a spell like humility.